Somewhere inside you, beneath the curated persona, the moral performance, the hunger to be seen as good, there is a quieter impulse, desire, not the polite, socially acceptable kind, but the raw, unapologetic hunger to have what you want, no matter the cost. Most of us bury that impulse under layers of virtue. We tell ourselves we are selfless, principled, noble. We believe that goodness is who we are, until something comes along that we want badly enough to test that story. Sometimes it's money, sometimes it's power, sometimes it's love, sometimes it's the need to feel significant in a world that keeps telling us we don't matter. And when the stakes are high enough, when the ache of longing eclipses the fear of consequence, something primitive awakens, a willingness to become bad, to trespass against our own values, to manipulate, to betray, to dominate. If that's what it takes to materialize the life we crave, it's easy to condemn this impulse from the safety of our self-righteousness. It's harder to admit that almost everyone, even the most virtuous among us, harbors a shadow, a part that whispers, you could have more if you stopped caring what it cost. This is the unspoken tension of being human, the collision between conscience and appetite, the endless negotiation between what we want and who we pretend to be. This video isn't here to justify cruelty or to romanticize the pursuit of desire at any price. It's here to look at it unflinchingly, to understand why people become what they swore they would never be, to explore whether the willingness to transgress is always evil, or sometimes just desperate, and to ask the question no one wants to answer out loud. If you believed you could get everything you ever wanted by being a worse version of yourself, would you do it? This is the descent into the darker side of human ambition, not to excuse it, but to see it clearly, so we can decide, with eyes wide open, what we are willing to sacrifice for the life we think we deserve. Welcome to this examination of desire's shadow and the cost of getting what you want. No one wakes up one morning and decides to be a villain. It starts small, more innocent, almost reasonable. It begins with a simple observation. I want this, and I deserve it. You feel the initial flicker of longing, that sharp, undeniable ache for something you don't yet have. It could be money, status, validation, love, revenge. At first, you try to get it without betraying your principles. You play by the rules. You wait your turn. You tell yourself that goodness will eventually be rewarded. But as time passes, you watch other people, the unscrupulous ones, getting everything you wanted. They bend the rules. They lie. They manipulate. They take, and the world does not punish them. Sometimes it applauds them. You begin to wonder if virtue is a beautiful illusion, designed to keep you small. Every man has his price. George Bernard Shaw. And then, quietly, almost imperceptibly, self-interest begins to seduce you. You tell yourself, maybe I've been too idealistic. Maybe the world doesn't care how pure my heart is. Maybe I need to be willing to do what it takes. This is where it begins, not with malice, but with the tired ache of longing, and the realization that goodness alone might never deliver you to the life you crave. The seduction of self-interest is not always explosive. It is often a gradual erosion, 1,000 tiny compromises, 100 little justifications, a single quiet voice that says, if you want it badly enough, you have permission to stop pretending. Once desire has set its hook, the next step is almost inevitable. Rationalization. Your conscience does not disappear overnight. It protests. It reminds you who you said you were. It demands that you explain yourself. So you do. You construct stories, clever, elegant stories, to make your selfishness look like necessity. You say, I'm not greedy. I'm ambitious. I'm not ruthless. I'm realistic. I'm not manipulative. I'm strategic. Each justification becomes a brick in the wall that separates who you are becoming from who you promise to be. Man is not what he thinks he is what he hides. Andre Malraux. It is astonishing how easily the human mind can transform betrayal into virtue. You begin to believe that your actions are not only acceptable, but noble. You convince yourself you are doing this for your family. You are doing this because the world is unfair. You are doing this because no one else has the courage to. And maybe there is a grain of truth in those stories. Maybe you are trying to survive. Maybe you are tired of feeling powerless. Maybe you are just too exhausted to care. But beneath all the justifications, there is a simpler, harsher truth. You want what you want, and you are willing to hurt people to get it. It doesn't mean you are evil. It doesn't mean you are beyond redemption. It means you are human, and your humanity includes appetites you were taught to disown. The mind will do almost anything to avoid admitting that desire can corrupt you. But there is a fierce kind of honesty in acknowledging it. Yes, I have wanted things so badly I was ready to betray my own ethics. This is where the descent deepens, where you begin to realize that being good is not a given. It is a daily decision, sometimes made against the pull of your own hunger. Desire alone does not transform you. Rationalization alone does not transform you. It is the moment you decide to act, to do the thing you once condemned in others, that you cross the threshold. At first, there is hesitation. You feel your conscience writhing, warning you this is the point of no return. Your hands tremble, your stomach twists. You tell yourself you can still walk away, but you don't. You make the call. You sign the contract you know is dishonest. You tell the lie. You sabotage the rival. You betray the trust. And in that moment, the first time you violate your own code to get what you want, you feel something unexpected. Relief, because finally, you are done pretending. Finally, you are doing what you believe it takes. The greatest crimes are caused by surfeit, not by want. Aristotle. And though your heart is beating like a warning drum, though part of you is horrified, another part feels almost alive, because the line you crossed, the taboo you shattered, was the last barrier between you and the life you imagined. From the outside, this might look monstrous, but on the inside, it feels like agency. It feels like reclaiming your power in a world that never cared about your ideals. And once you cross that line, something in you changes forever. You realize that morality is not enforced by the universe, only by your willingness to obey it. Here is the part no one likes to admit. Sometimes, doing the wrong thing works. Sometimes, it works so well, it makes you question why you ever bothered with conscience at all. You tell the lie, and the door swings open. You manipulate the system, and the money flows in. You betray the friend, and your competitor disappears. You watch as your desires, once so distant, materialize with startling ease. Success is the sole earthly judge of right and wrong. Adolf Hitler. It's a horrifying sentiment, but if you look honestly, you see the kernel of truth. When you win by being bad, the world often rewards you. Your bank account grows, your influence expands, your enemies fall silent, and no one asks too many questions. Because most people are too busy envying your success to wonder how you got it. In that moment, the part of you that still believes in fairness goes quiet. You start to wonder if morality is just a luxury for the powerless, a comforting story to keep them obedient. And for a while, it feels intoxicating. The sense of control, the rush of victory, the thrill of getting what you wanted, without apology. But beneath the exhilaration, a darker awareness begins to grow. If you will do anything to get what you want, what will be left of you when you finally have it? This is the question you can't escape, the question that waits in the quiet moments, after the rewards have been counted. Because, while the world may never punish you, you will always know how you got here. For a while, success can drown out the whispers of conscience. The applause is loud enough to cover your doubt. The bank balance is big enough to soothe your shame. The trophies are shiny enough to distract you from what you lost. But over time, in the quiet spaces of your own mind, you start to feel it, a hollowness. You look in the mirror and feel a flicker of something like pity or disgust, because while everyone else sees your triumph, you know what you traded for it. You remember the betrayals, the manipulations, the nights you told yourself, it was just this once. To thine own self be true. William Shakespeare. It sounds noble, but when you live out of alignment, those words stop feeling like inspiration and start feeling like an indictment. You begin to see that no external success can fill the place where self-respect used to live. And so you do what many do. You work harder, you build higher, you accumulate more, hoping that if you just achieve enough, the feeling will go away. But it doesn't, because the hidden cost of winning by any means necessary is that you lose the quiet confidence that you are someone you admire. And when self-respect erodes, it doesn't matter how many people envy you, you are never at peace. This is the part no one tells you about, that the price of betraying yourself is a life you can't fully inhabit. No matter how beautiful it looks from the outside, there comes a moment, often subtle, sometimes explosive, when you wake up and realize you don't recognize who you've become. Once you were the person who believed in principles. Once you told yourself you would never become like them. Once you thought you were immune to corruption. But now, when you trace the path behind you, you see the compromises stacking up like unpaid debts, the excuses, the betrayals, the cold calculations you made in the name of survival, or ambition, or revenge, and the question that won't leave you alone. If you have everything you ever wanted, but had to become someone you despise to get it, did you really win? It is not power that corrupts, but fear. Fear of losing power corrupts those who wield it. Aung San Suu Kyi. You start to notice that the victories feel empty, that your relationships are hollow, that your successes don't taste the way you imagined. You wonder if it's too late to turn back, if redemption is possible, after so much damage has been done. Sometimes the hardest part isn't the guilt, it's the grief for the version of yourself you abandoned to become successful, the grief for the innocence you traded for expedience, the grief for the life you might have built if you had chosen integrity over appetite. And yet, even here, in this crisis of identity, there is an opening, because the moment you see yourself clearly, without excuses, without denial, you are finally free to decide, will I keep going down this road, or will I find the courage to become someone I respect again? That question is the beginning of transformation. But before you answer it, you must be willing to see how far you've fallen. Only then can you begin to climb back. You can outrun your conscience for a while. You can silence the voice that tells you you've become a stranger to yourself. But eventually, in one form or another, the reckoning comes. Sometimes it arrives as external collapse, the scandal that exposes your secrets, the betrayal that turns your allies against you, the financial ruin that shatters the empire you built on lies. Other times, it is an internal implosion, the panic attack that won't let you sleep, the depression that drains all color from your victories, the quiet realization that nothing you've acquired feels real. We are punished by our sins, not for them. Albert Hubbard. You start to understand that the true price of becoming bad was never measured only in consequences from the world. It was measured in the slow decay of your own aliveness. And here, in the ashes of what you thought you wanted, you see what your hunger cost you, the trust you will never fully regain, the friendships you sacrificed, the respect you forfeited, most of all from yourself. This is the moment many people break. They drown in self-pity. They double down on denial. They lash out at anyone who dares reflect the truth. But if you can stay with the discomfort, if you can let yourself feel the full weight of your choices, you will discover something paradoxical: clarity. Because only when the illusions have all collapsed can you finally ask the question, who do I want to be now? The reckoning is not here to destroy you. It is here to show you that your old way of living was never sustainable. It is here to invite you into something more honest, more awake, more worthy of your one unrepeatable life. If you stop here, in the wreckage, you will believe your story is over, that you are condemned to be the person who betrayed themselves forever. But that is a lie, because redemption is not a prize reserved for the pure. It is a possibility open to anyone willing to do the work of becoming whole again. It is never too late to be what you might have been. George Eliot. Redemption does not mean erasing the past. It does not mean pretending you never hurt people. It does not mean you get to skip accountability. It means that starting today, you commit to living in alignment with your conscience, not because it is convenient, but because you have learned, finally, that no amount of material success can replace the quiet dignity of self-respect. Rebuilding integrity is slow work. It requires apologizing without excuses, making amends where you can, accepting that not everyone will forgive you, recommitting every day to the principles you once abandoned. This is not glamorous. It does not happen in a single moment of inspiration. It happens in the small, unremarkable choices you make when no one is watching, and gradually, almost imperceptibly, you begin to feel something returning. Your ability to look yourself in the eye without flinching, your capacity to love without calculation, your willingness to tell the truth, even when it costs you. You may never be able to undo what you did, but you can choose again and again to be the kind of person you respect. That is redemption, not the fantasy of perfection, but the daily commitment to become worthy of your own forgiveness. And in that commitment, you reclaim the one thing that all the power and success in the world could never buy: peace. So here you are, at the end of this examination. You have traced the path from desire to compromise, from compromise to corruption, from corruption to collapse. You have seen how easy it is, how almost anyone, given enough hunger and enough fear, can become the villain in their own story. You have learned that there is no special category of bad people. There is only all of us, with our appetites, our loneliness, our longing to matter, our capacity to justify anything when the stakes feel high enough. And maybe along the way you have felt that uncomfortable recognition: I am not exempt. But if there is any truth worth carrying from this exploration, it is this: your mistakes are not your final identity. You can lose yourself in pursuit of what you want, and you can still find your way back. We must be willing to let go of the life we planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us. Joseph Campbell. You can stand in the wreckage of your choices and decide that this is not the story you want to keep telling. You can lay down the armor of excuses and meet your own reflection with unflinching honesty. And in that honesty, you will find a freedom you could never buy with conquest or deceit, the freedom to begin again. The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. Carl Rogers. If you take nothing else from this, take this: redemption is not a lightning bolt. It is not a clean slate. It is 1,000 small decisions made every day to be the person you once pretended to be. You are not defined by the worst thing you have done. You are defined by whether you have the courage to confront it and the humility to transform it. And perhaps that is the most hopeful truth of all, that even in the aftermath of your darkest choices, you are still free. Free to choose integrity, free to rebuild trust, free to create a life you can respect, one honest action at a time. Out of suffering have emerged the strongest souls. The most massive characters are seared with scars. Kahlil Gibran. This is not the end of your story. It is simply the place where you remember who you were always capable of becoming.